So this week's topic is kind of related to the gig that we did this past weekend that didn't go as well as we thought it was going to go. But one of the things that they required was that we provide a COI, Certificate of Insurance. And this is not something that is uncommon. We've definitely had to pull policies for particular events. Now, I mean, the verbiage in our contract says that, hey, that's kind of your responsibility. But if the venue or the organization that's running it has existing policies about vendors providing their own insurance, it's something that you've got to consider. So we went ahead and bought an annual plan. And this is the first time in nearly 10 years that we've carried a policy. Yeah. And it was a learning experience. And I feel like everybody could benefit from listening to the things that I learned going through the process. And it was also something that I was really grateful for the Patreon community about, because I was like, hey, what are you guys paying for this? And the going rate seemed to be about what I was being quoted. I just want to make sure that I was kind of like, in the neighborhood, sure, not getting snowed or whatever. But in the process of going through that, I came up with a listicle. Everybody loves a listicle. So
Gotta love. And listen, I've never done this kind of insurance before, so you are fully leading the way, and I'll have a dozen questions per listicle item.
So what we're going to do in this episode is the 5 things you should know about buying insurance before you buy insurance. So first things first, let's talk about the kind of insurance we're talking about. This is liability insurance for the band. Yeah. This is a situation where you are doing a show and somebody gets injured at your show. They try to sue you.
Property damage. Yeah. All kinds of stuff like that.
Your band plays What's Up by 4 Non Blondes and a riot breaks out and you turn a bunch of cars over.
They tear the roof down.
What are you going to do about it? So the first thing is, hopefully you've got an LLC. So your liability is contained to the organization itself and not your personal assets. But we've covered that in previous episodes. But the first thing that I feel like everybody should know, and this is one of those things, this is like a sales deal. When I started Googling band insurance and stuff, every single one of the pages that was like offering the deal was like starting at $19 a month, $25 a month. You're like, okay, that seems pretty reasonable. And so as you go through the application process, they ask you a ton of questions like, what kind of music do you play? How many people are in the group? What's the average number of attendance that you do? Like, what is your primary field of whatever? And you go through all of those things, and then they give you the actual quote. And the thing that you need to understand is that when you see those starting at blank per month rates, that is the per player rate. So if the policy says that it's $27 per month, it's $27 per player per month. So if you've got a 5-piece band, it's 27 times 5. If you've got a 6-piece band plus a sound guy, to my understanding, it's 7 times 27.
And it's probably the maximum version of your band if there's some flex, right?
That would be the ideal situation. You don't want to necessarily, underinsure yourself in the event that something goes awry. That would be not great.
Yeah. Do you name the players when you do the policy? Huh.
That was not a part of it.
Interesting.
Well, because the entity is it's the umbrella.
Sure. But I mean, like, you have to name drivers in your car insurance.
Fair. I'm assuming that if, push came to shove, there was some sort of, litigation involved, like that would be a part of the process. But, initially that wasn't something that was covered.
Okay. Interesting.
The second thing I didn't really come to terms with is that annual coverage is like really affordable compared to buying it a la carte. Last year, I think we did 2 or 3 events that required us to provide a COI. And I went back and looked through my receipts, and the average cost of a single event policy was somewhere between $150 and $250.
Yeah.
So here I was able to get an entire year's worth of coverage for $550, a little under that.
Hard to argue.
So it's one of those things where if you have the means to do it and it's something that is requisite for your market, just go ahead and bite the bullet and pay for the year up front.
Just carrying a policy is probably the better move.
Well, and it is a marketing asset. I've seen bands' pages where, like, under the FAQ, they're like, yes, we carry $1 million policy. Like, we're fully insured. It's like hiring like a roofer or like,
Right.
like we're bonded
Right.
and insured. Like, that's a part of the
Right.
deal. Same deal with a band.
Yep.
So it's something you can put in your marketing in your FAQ section. Peace of mind for your prospective clients.
And in case anybody wonders why that matters, why a venue cares, it's because if there are big damages, they know you won't be able to cover it, but they know that your insurance company will, because they're an insurance company and it's their job.
Yep.
And so it's a way that a venue can have some risk management at your expense rather than it really ought to be theirs. But the analogy of a roofer is not terrible. If you're someone there, bringing a service, then, being able to say we're covered for anything that might go wrong with the service is not a terrible thing.
Yeah, just something to keep in mind that, it's probably cheaper to just get it done up front. And I feel like as we've progressed and worked into different scenarios, that it's becoming more and more prevalent in the things that we're doing. And I mean, I know for a lot of the guys in the community that are in the Northeast corridor, like, it's required. Like, you've got to carry a policy, period, if you want to play anywhere. So you just kind of chalk it up to the cost of doing business,
Sure.
Depending on what it is that you're doing. All right. Third thing that you should know about insurance is that it doesn't cover your gear, weirdly.
Well, it's covering a different risk.
Yep. Now, I will say that when I was filling out the policy information, they asked me if I wanted to tag gear insurance on, and it was an additional, X per month.
Sure.
But the total coverage was not anywhere near what I need. I think it topped out at like $5,000 a year, and like,
oh,
that's
no. My Music Pro coverage is in the like 25 grand range, and it's not super expensive either. If you don't have your gear covered, you should definitely look into that. It's a company I like called Music Pro.
Yeah.
I've used them for many years. They're not the only game in town, but they're the one I use.
Not sponsored.
But yes, not sponsored. No. Just do your own research. But liability insurance is a whole different thing. Liability insurance is for, like, if you plug your system into the wall and it blows out the electrical and burns the place down. That's the risk we're covering, that sort of thing. Somebody does a backflop off your stage because they're so excited by your music and injures themselves. That's what we're covering here.
Susie Ray tries to do like some sort of twirly dance against your sub pole and knocks the whole thing over and breaks her hip.
Yeah, never do twirly dances. That's always a bad move.
Yeah. So that's what you're paying for. So if your gear stolen or damaged, different policy. It's typically under like an inland marine insurance or some sort of addendum to your existing policy or whatever.
Or homeowners. Often homeowners and renters insurance, you can get a rider that covers all those things.
Yep. Again, this is one of those things that's going to vary state to state, country to country. You just got to check with your local municipality about, what the going deal is. Talking about things that aren't covered, not all music related things are covered under a policy like this. So you would need a different policy if you are running some sort of teaching program out of a building. If you're touring, there's additional stuff that needs to, be involved there. It's not all covered. This is literally just performing in a space in front of people policy. All those other ones are separate situations.
Makes sense too, because the risk profile totally changes depending on what you're doing. So that means the cost rating on it for them changes. And I know more than I should about insurance. It's not great, but yeah, the point is they're going to tailor it to the actuarial risk that you're presenting to their business.
Right. So yeah, they're going to look at all the scenarios. They're going to find like the narrowest slice that they're going to provide that coverage for.
Yeah, partially because if you're doing anything else, they get to exclude you.
Right. And that actually ties into the last one, which is it doesn't cover transportation related issues. So car accidents, transit deal, your gear gets wrecked in a fender bender, musician coverage doesn't deal with that.
Right.
That's your vehicle insurance.
That's car insurance. Yeah.
So like the idea here is that if you take the gear that is in your house and you put it in your car and you take it to a venue and you perform a show, you are using 3 independent insurance policies to safeguard you, your vehicle, and the contents of that vehicle hither and thither.
And any damage you might do intentionally or unintentionally to anyone or anything around you. Yes.
It's a
racket. Let's just say it. It's a racket.
It's not great. I don't feel good about these things. No. But that's why
you got the paper. You got the paper.
Right. I've got a COI. I can, and the thing is that, you know, you were talking about, you know, Music Pro is the vendor that you use. I'm using Insurance Canopy. Again, not sponsored, no affiliate links, no save 10%, no nothing. They were the people that had the best rates and the best coverage, and that's who I went with. So we'll put links for both of those companies in the show notes. If you work for either one of those companies and you want to sponsor us, we will take your money. We will take your discount codes.
You've been taking mine.
Touché.
Yeah. Listen, I'll just a little freebie for Music Pro. I'm the only person I know who's ever done a claim for a loss on Music Pro. I dropped an iPad that I had covered under my policy, and it was utterly painless to get reimbursement for replacing it. It was one phone call. It was so easy. I'm used to insurance companies fighting real hard about everything, but this was like not a big deal. So, you know, it's worth the money. That one claim paid off many years actually of my premiums to them. So
I mean, I wish I had my iPad on my policy because I cracked it on a gig and it's just cracked.
Yeah.
And that's just what I'm dealing with.
Yeah. Well, mine didn't even happen on a gig. The way Music Pro doesn't care where you are. I fell off my desk here at my office.
Yeah, straight. It wasn't like it's not covered under anything other than homeowners. So hindsight's 2020.
There you go.
I'm actually in the process of re-inventorying all of my stuff to renew my policy because my inventory has increased pretty prodigiously. This is the fun stuff. This is the stuff that, like, you know, you can go onto YouTube and watch people play cool guitars and stuff. We're the ones like in the weeds, like
talk about insurance.
Yeah, this is
corporate structures.
Yeah, I mean
taxes. Yeah.
We're not your average, you know, guitar channel or music channel.
No, we're way more boring.
Yeah, we're worse, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
The numbers reflect it, I think.
Yeah. A million bored people
over, you know, 5-6 years at this point.
Yeah.
But that's what we're here to bore you into not getting the pants suit off you. Yeah. And that's what we're here to do. So there you go. 5 things you should know about buying insurance before you buy insurance. The real thing that you need to know is it's per person, and the things that you think it might cover, it doesn't. But you should get it anyway.
Yeah. If you want those gigs.
Yep. Because for a certain amount of gigs, and frankly, the ones that pay really well, it's part and parcel with the deal. Yep. So just get over it and get some coverage.
Plan.
Do it.